Distance has always been one of Australia's biggest natural defenses. For most of modern history, being tucked away at the bottom of the world made invasion seem absurd, but that assumption no longer holds true. The same technology that connects global trade now shrinks the strategic map. Long-range missiles, drones, cyber attacks, and satellite-guided warfare have made distance far less reliable. According to the Council on Foreign Relations, Australia's once comfortable geographic isolation is no longer a guarantee of security in an era of precision strike and great power rivalry. Meanwhile, tensions in the Indo-Pacific are heating up. China's People's Liberation Army Navy is now the largest in the world by ship count, though not by tonnage or overall capability, and regional missile stockpiles are expanding rapidly. In this environment, Australia can no longer count on geography alone to save it. The 2024 National Defence Strategy marks a clear pivot in Canberra's thinking. It no longer relies on distance, but on deterrence through denial. The central question now is how to convince any potential aggressor that attacking Australia would be a catastrophic mistake. The strategy of denial is at the heart of that answer. It means stopping an adversary long before they reach Australian soil, rather than retaliating after an attack. The goal is to make any potential assault so costly and complex that it is never launched in the first place. As the Center for Strategic and International Studies explains, this strategy is about deterring by complicating. Australia aims to deny any adversary the ability to control its territory, degrade its government, or inflict unacceptable damage on its infrastructure. This shift also pushes Australia toward a modernized form of anti-access and area denial, though Canberra describes it as contested access and maneuver. The message is clear: disrupt, delay, and defend across every domain: land, sea, air, space, and cyber. A doctrine, however, is only as strong as the weapons behind it. That is why Australia is undergoing one of the largest military modernization programs in its history. First, the country is building a new air and missile defense network. In recent years, the Australian Defence Force has conducted test firings of its NASAM system during joint exercises such as Talisman Sabre 2025, demonstrating its growing operational readiness. Australia is also working with the United States to integrate these systems with Aegis-equipped destroyers and radar networks that can protect major population centers and bases. Second, Australia is investing heavily in long-range strike power. The government has signed agreements to acquire precision strike missiles, or PRSMS, capable of hitting targets beyond 300 kilometers. Publicly announced test firings in the Northern Territory have shown promising results, giving Australia the ability to respond to threats from much greater distances, a critical advantage in such a vast region. Beyond imported systems, Australia is determined to produce its own munitions. Partnerships with companies such as Lockheed Martin are establishing domestic missile production to reduce reliance on foreign supply chains. Naval modernization is another key front. Following the 2024 Surface Fleet Review, the Royal Australian Navy is being restructured around lethality and flexibility. Future ships will carry more missiles, deploy autonomous systems, and integrate closely with allied fleets. The integration of Tomahawk cruise missiles onto Australian destroyers is currently underway, expanding the fleet's future long-range strike options. The Army is also changing. The re-raised 10th Brigade, based in Adelaide, is now the Long Range Fires Brigade, controlling both missile defense units and long-range artillery systems like HIMARS. All of this modernization comes at a cost. The government has committed billions of dollars in new funding through 2034 to reshape the defense force for a more dangerous era. Even with this transformation, alliances remain the backbone of Australia's defense. The AUKUS Pact with the United States and the United Kingdom will deliver nuclear-powered submarines and advanced cyber and AI capabilities to strengthen deterrence in the Indo-Pacific. But AUKUS is not just about hardware. It represents deep integration of technology, intelligence, and industry. Beyond that, the ANZUS alliance and regional partnerships with Japan, Singapore, and other Pacific states continue to grow through joint exercises and intelligence sharing. Still, Canberra knows alliances are not guaranteed in a crisis. That is why Australian policy now emphasizes what the Department of Defense calls self-reliance within alliances, the ability to hold the line alone if necessary, while still benefiting from collective strength. Modern war is no longer limited to soldiers, ships, and planes. It involves factories, power grids, and even social media. Australia's 2024 National Defence Strategy formally adopts what it calls a national defence approach, meaning defence is a task for the entire country, not just the military. This includes hardening critical infrastructure such as ports, energy facilities, and communication systems, while securing supply chains for food, fuel, and ammunition. Civilian industries are being prepared to switch into defense production if needed. The idea is to make every sector, from government to business, resilient in wartime. The concept mirrors total defense models used by countries like Sweden and Finland, but tailored to Australia's geography and smaller population. The message is simple: every part of society must be ready to contribute if the nation is ever threatened. Geography, despite its shrinking advantages, still plays in Australia's favor. The continent is enormous, sparsely populated, and filled with terrain that is both harsh and unforgiving. Any hostile force attempting to occupy significant portions of the mainland would face logistical nightmares. Long supply lines, limited infrastructure, and a climate that can swing from flood to drought in weeks would make sustained operations nearly impossible. This gives Australia defensive depth. Even if the coast were breached, pushing further inland would mean battling both defenders and the environment. An adversary would not only fight Australian forces, but also distance and attrition. That natural barrier remains one of the strongest deterrents to invasion. However, Australia's defense transformation is far from complete. The country still faces vulnerabilities that could be exploited. Many of its high-end systems, from hypersonic missiles to missile defense networks, are still in development. Some bases remain exposed to long-range strikes, and surveillance gaps persist across remote regions. Dependence on imported technology also remains a risk. If conflict disrupted supply routes, Australia's access to spare parts and advanced components could be limited. This is why expanding domestic defense manufacturing is both strategic and urgent. And while full-scale invasion remains highly unlikely, analysts warn that Australia could face cyber attacks, sabotage, or economic coercion well before any missile is fired. Power grids, internet infrastructure, and financial systems could all become targets. In that sense, Australia's first battle would likely be digital, not physical. What emerges is a picture of a nation rethinking what defense means in the 21st century. Australia is preparing for a conflict that might begin invisibly through data breaches, sanctions, and precision strikes. Canberra is positioning itself as a key player in the Indo-Pacific security network. As Japan, Taiwan, and other regional powers expand their defenses, Australia aims to be both a partner and a deterrent. The Council on Foreign Relations notes this shift is not about militarization, but about maintaining stability in an increasingly contested region. If Australia's defense transformation succeeds, it will send a clear message. You might be able to hit us, but you will never hold us. If it fails, the country risks learning the hard way how quickly the modern world can change. Australia's defense future is not about building impenetrable walls or relying on distant allies. It is about planning, foresight, and resilience, preparing before a crisis, not after it. So, if someone tried to invade Australia today, they would not find an island waiting to be conquered. They would face a nation ready to make any act of aggression a mistake too costly to repeat. Distance can no longer defend Australia. Strategy and denial will.